Hello friends, it is Sarah with Midwife Your Garden, and we are just going to do a garden update on all the bits of garden, and then I'll sort of talk about plans. There's some things that are going to come out soon, and plans for kind of what those areas are going to be. Alright, so the first thing that we have here is this row of hot peppers. This is mostly pepperoncinis, although we have a couple of jalapeno plants. And they all are just doing so well. We actually did a really hard pick on these just a couple days ago, and they already have plenty more peppers to offer. So the peppers are doing really well. Just some pretty flowers on the ends here. And then our first eggplant is pretty ready. That is fist size. So we'll probably take that today. These eggplants got eaten pretty badly by flea beetles in the beginning, but they are hanging in there and just recovering very well. We got lots of flowers on them, so I think they'll do just fine. These are all the sweet peppers. These are going to be red roasting peppers, so we're going to let them get much bigger and turn a beautiful red color. And that is most of these. I think there might be one yellow in here somewhere, but most of these are just those peppers. Sweet peppers of various kinds. Over here we have our tomatoes, and these are doing so well. We have just tons and tons of tomatoes on these plants. They are everywhere, guys. And when I say everywhere, I really mean everywhere. And these are not tiny. These are starting to size up. So this entire row here is mostly damsel, which again just kind of a pink slicing tomato. And it comes in these beautiful little bunches that we already have just tons of here at the end of June. And then a few heirloom variety orange Wellingtons. They have, you know, a few less. They're a little bit smaller. They do take a little bit longer to ripen up, but they are also looking beautiful. My tomatillo plants are above my head. They are so huge. Tons and tons of flowers on the tomatillo plants, but also tons and tons of tomatillos that are starting to do some things. So this is the sack. So this is how big they will get. And if you squeeze it just ever so gently, that's how big it is right now. So it's still a lot of empty, but it will fill up. And when those papers start to burst, that's how you know those tomatillos are ready. This is another row on this side of tomatoes, but they are this variety, which is my sauce tomatoes. We also have some more slicing tomatoes up at the house, which I'll show you. They're called super sauce because they're huge for a Roma type tomato. And in theory, they're an indeterminate type, but they do get a lot shorter. They don't really kind of perk up and get to the same height. If you look at the two rows, you can see that the indeterminates of the other varieties are much taller. And this is the only indeterminate type of Romas I've ever seen, but they are still slower growing and don't get quite as big. This crazy mess over here was a giant dill patch for those swallowtail caterpillars that we've seen, and now is a squash patch. I do have to come in here and get the rest of this dill out before it goes to seed and pisses off my neighbors. We are at the community garden, so we don't want to upset the neighbors by having too much in there, but we have 3 beautiful zucchini plants. We are starting to put on some nice zucchini, so I will probably get a zucchini or 2 out of here. And then we have our butternut squash plants, which are also starting to roam. So I have gotten most of the dill away from these guys so that they can really roam. And I am taking most of these tendrils that are creeping along the ground and throwing them this way into the patch instead of letting them grow up the tomatoes there. The nasturtiums mostly just here to be beautiful, but in theory they also help deter squash bugs. And then our marigolds right along the edge here because the neighbor had some nematode issues that we don't really want to have. So let's go back to the back section and show you what we have back there. Everyone's gardens are doing so well this year. It's been a beautiful year. We get rain every once in a while, but it is been a few days, so we're gonna water while we're up here too. All right, this is the hot mess of weeds mixed in with flowers. That is the part for my nieces and my brother-in-law. They also have some peppers sizing up really nicely. Their peas are done, so I should probably take those out. Some little cherry tomatoes, putting on lots of growth there. Some beautiful straw flowers. Let's see, what else did I got? Their cucumbers were having a little bit of a struggle because they're getting shaded out by the tomatoes, but there are some cucumber vines. I'm trying to do some work over there. This huge mess here is my black beans. They are obviously a pole variety of black beans, and they are climbing and they are doing amazing. They are starting to put on lots and lots of beans, but these are for drying, so we are not picking these yet. These are for dried black beans. So but they have tons already, and plenty of these beautiful flowers that they're putting on as well. Back in this little corner over here are a couple of little pumpkin plants. This one is supposed to make those cute little white pumpkins that I'm super excited about. And this one is supposed to make those slightly larger orange pumpkins. So far we have done a reasonably good job of getting it to train up this trellis, but like I said, sometimes it's trying to creep into our neighbor's spot, so we just gotta turn it around to get through this trellis so that we don't take over anyone else's space. So this is, again, kind of a big mess. Hard to see anything in there, but that to me just makes it perfect. I love it. Woo. Let's see if we can get through here. There's a little patch of carrots here. My daughter keeps coming and thinning them, which basically means she just comes and steals baby carrots because she likes them. This is the potato patch, and the potato patch is getting kind of sad looking. You might think, oh, Sarah, did you not water it enough? Or did you not give it enough food? Nope, it's just the potatoes are coming to the end of their life cycle. So we will be in here probably in a couple weeks yet to pick all of these potatoes. And the question is, what's gonna go here when these potatoes come out? The onions have another little while to go, but we are getting some that are bulbing up quite nicely. As you can see down here, we're starting to get some size on them. That one is particularly large already, which is very exciting. So I'm very excited about what's going to happen with these as well. This, I actually know what we're going to do here. So this has got at least another month on it, which puts us at the end of July, beginning of August, which is kind of a tricky time to be planting things. So this is probably going to be a carrot bed when it's done. And that should be great. A nice fall planting of carrots. So this potato bed may, if I can add a little bit of lime to it so it's not so acidic, may become a broccoli patch. One more broccoli patch for the fall. Those beans and those squash, all of those things are going to stay until the very last minute, until that first fall frost. So that's what we have out here. So I'm thinking carrots here where the onions are, and broccoli here where the potatoes are. So we'll take it over to the home garden and show you what we got going on over there. All right, friends, we are back home at the home garden. We have some blueberries on the blueberry bushes back here. Let's see if we can get you close enough to see those. Starting to turn. But the blueberry bushes aren't super happy this year. We'll probably get some fertilizer on them. These are the strawberry plants. They are done strawberrying for the year. Some of them have this fancy spot on them. I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a fungal disease. They get it every year, at least a little bit, and they always seem to pull through. So I'm not terribly worried about it, and I don't feel it necessary to pull them all out and start over again. Some beautiful milkweeds kicking in there. Our dill is all going to seed, which will be great. We'll get dill seed for next year. Our sweet potatoes are growing like crazy, but also have lots of weeds, so we need to weed deep into the sweet potatoes. These are those herbs that we cut last week, and they looked pretty sad, but they're already starting to perk up a little bit. There is a volunteer squash that somehow planted itself in the concrete on the thin layer of dirt between the pots, so I'm just letting it grow because I'm kind of curious what is that strong. Most of the exciting stuff is in the backyard, so let's go through there and see. Again, the fruit trees this year are just surviving, so we did do some pretty heavy fertilizing of them. We will treat them with very strong fungicide in the late fall and hope for the best. Probably do a hard prune of the peach tree up on some of those taller branches, just get some of that out of the way. All right, we have tons and tons of stuff still happening in this garden. The poppies are mostly dead, but they're putting on these beautiful seed heads, so every time one of them gets dry and brown, I am popping off that seed head and taking it inside. So this one's close, but not quite yet, so that we have poppy seeds for next year, which is super exciting. We have, ooh, a branch from the neighbors that fell down. But we have some cabbages that are heading up. It doesn't look that impressive to you maybe, but to me that's a pretty big cabbage. I'm getting very excited about it. And there's 3 here in a row. We have some other nicely moderately sized cabbages. These are the Copenhagen Market, I think, and those are Brunswick, maybe. And then some early Jersey Wakefield, which for some strange reason aren't early for me, but are doing just fine. So we've got a bunch of those heading up. And then these beautiful purple cabbages that are also, you know, some are a little smaller, some are a little bigger. I kind of like the fact that they're a little staggered. And then this is where the cauliflower was. These are edamame, which I am super excited about. And then these are some more black beans, but these are bush bean black beans that we planted in there. Mostly, you know, we'll get a few from there, but I'm less concerned about how many black beans I get from that. I'm more concerned about putting something in there that's giving back to the soil. So beans are nitrogen fixers, so they're really going to help that. Speaking of which, I now have this fancy big open space, and I'm going to have a bigger open space when I take out those 2 cabbages. And I need to put something in here, so I'm probably going to put bush green beans in over here, and hopefully that will also just help invigorate this piece of the bed. We did not do that over here. We planted carrots where all the broccolis were, and these will not reinvigorate the bed, but they also don't need a huge amount of nitrogen, so they should do pretty well, even though the broccoli stole most of the nitrogen. This is more poppies falling over. We will clean them up soon. Like I said, just waiting for some of those seed heads. The kale, which I did do a hard harvest of and fill a freeze dryer with. I know I didn't show you guys that, but I did do that, I swear. Still huge and overgrown. This is our snapdragons. They are starting to peter out a little bit, but I'm also have seen that sometimes snapdragons self-seed, so I'm kind of hoping to maybe get some seed heads off of those too. This is where our first round of kohlrabi was. You can see that we still have a couple left in here, but there's also now this big patch of dirt. So this is probably going to end up being beets. We'll probably sow some beets in here. Again, beets don't need a ton of nutrition, so the fact that the kohlrabi took a lot of the nutrition means I don't have to re-amend this before I put those in. We are getting tons of peppers on the at-home peppers here. And these are all sweet peppers. So we have 2 that are theoretically red, 2 that are theoretically orange, 2 yellows, and some greens. The greens are kind of buried in with all those poppies and the kale, so they are a little further behind, but I don't mind a staggered harvest of peppers. We killed off our first set of celery, and these are just by seed, so they are going to take a little while before they become much of anything, but as it turns out, I don't care how big the celery is because I just use it for soups and things. This is all of our cilantro going to seed. The pollinators really love this, but also we get beautiful coriander out of this when it dries, and then that's also seed for next year. So right now we're just doing a bit of seed saving. More of those poppies going to seed. Again, I will probably take a lot of these out pretty soon. A little bit of a better view of the edamame. compost bin. This compost bin is mostly just grass clippings and leaf mulch and stuff from the garden. Garden waste gets thrown in there. All right, we took out most of the beets from here very recently. There's still a few left over there, but there's another little tiny bare patch of dirt here. I will probably plant some more kohlrabi. We really love kohlrabi. We really can't figure out how to preserve it in any way that is useful to us that we would like. So we just eat it all summer long happily. If you can come up with a way to preserve it, please let me know. I would love to know about it in the comments below. But this will probably be another succession of kohlrabi. So we had that first one behind us. There's another one underneath the tomato plants, which you can't really see, which is fine. And then these little tiny babies that are not anything yet, but will be. That will be ready hopefully in a few weeks. These basil are not doing terribly well. I have already done a couple of harvests of basil though, so even if I don't get anything from these, I think it'll probably be fine, but I think they do need some water today. The tomatoes are huge and doing amazing, and we are starting to get, oh, I don't know if I can get in there, sorry. Even little red tomatoes, look at that. So the cherry tomatoes are starting to produce for us. And then we obviously have some of the bigger tomatoes also putting on. They're just not turning red yet. So our yellow cherry tomatoes over there doing great. This is more seed saving mess. So we have a couple different kinds of lettuce that have gone to seed and some arugula that has gone to seed. Beautiful little arugula pods. So those will actually be ready to harvest pretty soon. The lettuce is a little bit behind. This is our garlic. It is getting very, very close to harvesting garlic time. Maybe in a couple more days, we will harvest all of this garlic. You know that it's time to harvest. It's been 3 or 4 weeks since we took the scapes off, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 brown leaves. That's pretty good. 3 or 4, half of them, however you want to do the math, is usually good enough. I have dug a few up, sort of 1 a week for the last couple of weeks, and they weren't quite ready, but it's been almost a week since I've done that, so I have a feeling this week might be the week. This is our one pumpkin plant that is doing precisely what I wanted it to do and spilling out over here, so we love that. In this big bare patch where this garlic is going to come out, I will probably put 1 or 2 zucchini plants and maybe a couple more cucumbers, because what's happening on this end of the bed is all of our cucumber plants, which I am super excited about, putting on lots of growth and flowers. So hopefully soon we will start getting cucumbers. We have a couple different varieties here. One's a pickling and one's just a small slicing cucumber. The raspberries are putting on raspberries. It's very hard to be sad about these. They grow like literal weeds. They are everywhere, but they are putting on raspberries. They will probably also put on a fall flush of raspberries that will be even bigger than this one. Our sad little cherry tree, which also got fertilized, but the cicadas did a number on some of those branches that will have to get pulled off. And then the flower bed. So we have our lemon balm that is huge, obviously, and overgrown, and we have cut back a few times and it doesn't care. It's just happy, which is fine. Calendula, which we have done some freeze drying with, but is now just going to be a beautiful cut flower. Some more snapdragons of various colors, celosia, these straw flowers, which are maybe my favorite thing in the world. There's kind of orangey one, and then these more pinky ones, and they sound, I don't know if you can hear that, they sound very crinkly and beautiful. Oh, and the 4 o'clocks are open because it is that time of day. Look at them. Oh my gosh, they're so pretty. Some white snapdragons. We are starting to get, I think our first few zinnias are opening. Yeah, there's one. Really pretty white one. And a really pretty pink one. Hopefully we'll get some more of those, but man, this calendula is really doing its job. And then that is our sunflower, the one that managed to survive. This little one over here is trying. It's been eaten off by bunnies a couple of times. So maybe we will get a very short, very lovely sunflower from that, but I'm not sure. And then somewhere in here I saw some dahlias. So this is, I think, one from last week, but it has more that will open up. And there's a few more dahlia plants in here that are here, just starting to put on some buds. So hopefully we'll get some dahlias soon. Those are dahlia buds. Those will probably be ginormous as well. I'm very excited to have made pretty things this year, which I don't normally do. So that's it for the tour, guys. I will probably bring you back when I do some of that seeding. So for the beets and the beans, and when we pull that garlic out, but that might be all in the next video. All right, guys, see you later.